Well, hello there, and thank you for joining us again on ClueCon Weekly. Every week, we look for interesting people to talk about interesting things. And I'm really pleased to have Bharat, Ramaswamy, Nandakumar on with us today. Whereabouts are you coming in from, Bharat?
Indianapolis, Indiana.
Great, what a lovely place to be from. I've got a cousin out that way, and I love visiting.
Oh yeah, it's a nice little city to visit.
Great. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to come on ClueCon Weekly. We're really pleased about that. Before we get talking, I do want to tell everybody about ClueCon. Although this podcast is called ClueCon Weekly, it's called that because we have ClueCon, the actual event that happens every year in Chicago. We're over there in the 3rd to the 6th of August this year in the Intercontinental Hotel. Really looking forward to that. We always have a great time. There's lots of different things that happen, from the Maker Challenge and the Hackathon all the way through to amazing conference sessions about Free Switch, Asterisk, all sorts of other open source projects and interesting technologies. And if you want to know more, then get onto the ClueCon website. Just Google on ClueCon and you'll find your way to it. Now, Bharat, we're having you on because you are a telecoms man through and through. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got involved?
So when I started when I started off, I came to school here and I went to Illinois Institute of Technology, and my goal when I started college here was to become a video game developer back in 2007. Um, that was kind of sort of my dream, and I kept on pursuing that until around 2012 or 2013 when I started to work in a class with Carol Davids, and she's my mentor, a great person, and everything else. She I think she comes to ClueCon every year.
Right.
So she kind of sort of introduced me to the field of telecom and everything else, and I started playing around with the SIP boxes and Asterisk and Camaleo and so and Free Switch. And and then all of a sudden I kind of sort of fell in love with the technology, and wanted to build more and more and more. And one of the things that I worked as a graduate project at IIT was building a NG911 location service finder using Bluetooth beacons as a way to find you inside of a building. So if you, yeah, so say for example, you're, stuck in the 50th floor of the Empire State Building, you have a medical emergency, you dial 911. And you're having a medical emergency. You don't know if you have the ability to speak when that's happening. So how would you tell them where you are, let alone which floor you're on? And
Mm.
and so for that, I kind of sort of built the system where using Bluetooth iBeacons, we can just deploy a ton of beacons in a lot of buildings, because smart tech is kind of sort of becoming a thing now. IoT and smart tech's becoming kind of a thing now. We wanted to deploy these beacons everywhere, and using these beacons, the phones would scan its area, find its beacons. Using some algorithms, it locates where the person is and sends that to our emergency dispatch operators, so they know where you are and how to find you.
Yeah, that's really clever because, of course, just in regular mobile technology, you could get a triangulation for an approximate position on a map, but that doesn't solve the three-dimensional problem of the height of where you're at. So what you're saying is putting some extra Bluetooth beacons on and relying on those for that sort of better granularity of location.
Yeah, and because Bluetooth beacon adoption is actually kind of sort of becoming more and more mainstream because of advertising agencies being able to use them. Like airports are using beacon technologies right now, so that passengers can or travelers can run are able to find where they are with the maps and stuff like that. So with all of that, it's kind of sort of becoming more and more prevalent in mainstream technology. So yeah, so I thought, yeah, this would be a great technology to use to, build out an emergency platform on.
Mm. Excellent. Oh well, that's great. So it sounds like that you kind of got sucked into the world of telecoms, maybe slightly by accident, but once you
Yeah,
got here, you found out how much you loved it.
yeah, I just love it. So I just came in and then I've been here ever since.
Great, great. Now, I believe that you've been doing some work or research or playing around at least with Asterisk and real-time text. Do sort of introduce us to the subject for people that might never have come across it, and tell us what you've been up to, please, Bharat.
So Asterisk, I think as of version 15 or 16, I don't know, but they're starting to depreciate their SIP library in in favor of PJ-SIP as a newer SIP standard and things like that. The problem is, as they were depreciating their SIP library and moving to PJ-SIP, some features didn't translate over. One of them was RTT.
Right.
So PJSIP doesn't currently support RTT just yet, but the Asterisk engine has support for RTT and will be able to do T140 and T140 red. But the issue is Asterisk, uh, but the issue is because PJSIP doesn't support it, Asterisk is unable to translate that.
Yeah. Now,
So
Bharat, just before you carry on, do you think you could just give a brief introduction to RTT, just in case there are people watching it who might not have come across it before?
okay. So the best way I can describe RTT is it's real-time text. So if you take SMS as uh, SMS as voicemail, then real-time text is like you're on a call, but you're texting each other, but it's live text.
Right. So the ability to send text messages, in this case, in the middle of a SIP phone call.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Okay, thank you.
So where was
You
so
were talking
yeah.
about the fact that it's not supported in PJ SIP currently.
Yep. So with the PG-SIP not supporting RTT and this thing, one of our products that we currently use requires RTT to be a feature because it helps our systems work a lot better. So with that in mind, I went in trying to solve this PGSIP problem. I dove into the Asterisk source code and where I started digging through the whole platform trying to find this out. We started off with the PJ library. Maybe we need modifications to that, get this thing working. But that's not. But as time went on, it was clear that while the PGSIP library helps a lot, there's also kind of sort of uh, what's the thing? The wiring isn't really, it's just kind of like a parsing library. So it just parses the packets and sends it back.
Right.
So then I started messing around with the asterisks libraries or the asterisk PJ SIP connectors, and that's where I found out. Oh, this is where we can start modifications to get this thing working. And it took me about 3 months, 4 months maybe, but just trial and error, because no one's ever done this, right? So a lot of trial and error, but I got it working. Um, I got it working, and it was really interesting. The biggest thing that I wanted to notice, what I noticed was PJ SIP runs everything as a stream with an asterisk. So everything, your text is a stream, your video is a stream, your voice is a stream. So, um, so trying to figure out and telling PJSIP, because for text streams, each text direction is its own stream,
Right.
and within PJSIP, a single call is one stream. So trying to tell PJSIP, hey, there's one stream for our caller to callee, and then another stream from callee back to caller, was one of the things that I spent like 2 weeks trying to figure out, because the the Wireshark would show the text stream coming from my phone, from my callee phone back to Asterisk, but Asterisk has no way how to send it back, and we needed to
Well,
make sure Asterisk stayed as the media engine so that we could record all of these calls.
mm,
Again, because of the emergency services and things like that, we want to make sure everything is recorded. So, uh, with Asterisk acting as a media engine, it was able to get the text stream back. The phone was able to get text stream back to Asterisk, but Asterisk didn't know how to send it back. So
goodness.
that was like,
How were you able to solve that? That sounds like a major issue.
yeah, I was able to solve it by going really deep into the PJ code, and here's the thing: I only needed to change 2 lines of code, but finding those 2 lines was the trickiest thing. So what happened is each frame has a variable called stream number within PJSIP, but PJSIP wouldn't set that for text streams. So forcing PJSIP to set that for text streams just fixed it, and yeah, that, and once I figured that out, I the way I did it was I forced p text streams. Like I just said, hey, text stream, the text stream identifier is this, and I forced it, and that way I was able to get callees messages back to caller, but then caller's messages didn't go, so it was still one-way RTT. But once I figured out, hey, I could do it the other way around, then it's just forcing these numbers somewhere. And once that was there, at 5 in the morning on a Friday night, I figured it out. So
Great.
yeah.
Well done. That's top class. And is this something that you've been able to kind of feed back into the PJ SIP project or into Asterisk?
Yes, I have a merge request in there, but I believe that they will be integrating it within Asterisk 18. I know that I have after I pushed the merge request, I got some comments back from the Asterisk team, but I haven't had time. Well, we moved on to other projects, so I didn't have a lot of time to just go back and get that thing working again, or addressing those comments. But that's basically my next steps, is getting that pushed through. But the team from Asterisk said they will integrate it into their application for Asterisk 18, I think.
That's brilliant. That is the power of community, and it's really nice to hear that, Bharat, because all too often in the world of open source, people kind of take what they're provided freely and make some little modifications and maybe hide it away, or just use it for them. And it's very refreshing to hear that you've been able to push that back up. I'm just coming back to the technical problem. You were saying that PJSIP treats a phone call as one stream, and yet you've got the 2 streams that you wanted to do for the two-way text communication,
Yeah.
and you fixed that. But I'm just, if it didn't have the concept of having 2 streams within the one, how were you able to do that? Was it like a time division multiplexing thing, or how did you overcome that?
Um. So, well, it was just the best way I can put it was I just kind of sort of kept on looking within PJ Steps. Like I didn't want to make too much modifications within Asterisk, and when we were able to just get one-way RTT, I knew it was like, okay, this doesn't need a lot of modifications. Since Asterisk already supports T140 and T140 Red, those
Mm,
are the codecs for the RTT real-time text.
right.
So a lot of the things is I didn't need to really change a lot of variables, or there wasn't a lot of code changes I needed to do. I just needed to zone in on trying to figure out, because uh, uh, zone in and try to figure out where exactly our code needed to be modified. So
Right.
no, actually, not a lot of time division multiplexes because all of that's been handled by the Asterisk engine itself. I didn't need to make any modifications to the engine.
Yeah, and I guess
What I
just thinking about it, in a
Mhm.
standard phone call, if you like, there's SIP traffic in terms of the messaging on 5060 going each way already, isn't there?
Yeah,
Um, Part of what's going on in the phone call. So yeah, I guess it should be possible.
yeah. So the trickiest thing was just trying to force ports on this thing. And for real-time text, um, I couldn't force it to just go straight to the phones um, uh, because that technically wouldn't work. So I really needed to go really deep into our the PJ-SIP library or the PJ-SIP uh, integration into Asterisk and see exactly where our values needed to be changed or what needed to be changed to get this thing enabled. And once I went through that, I started noticing there was this variable called stream number for every frame within PJSIP. Now, um, the way the older SIP library handled RTT was they kind of sort of got the RTT message, created a new frame, and put the message into that and sent that off. With PJSIP, as the messages came in, the stream would just take it and send it out, and so it was a lot more streamlined basically. And there was this other issue also within Asterisk that I didn't know how to that we needed to sort out was where when or at least in the current library, if you wanted to run RTT over Asterisk and the two phones would connect with each other, they would send these garbled messages of RTP, RTP, RTP as a message, and it's just kind of sort of empty packets that Asterisk sends to both the phones to make sure that the connection is still alive. Because if there's a dead connection for a long time, the phones might disconnect or drop those connections. So in order to make sure that doesn't happen, they keep sending messages, and these things would just keep popping up over and over again. And it was the most annoying thing ever to figure out. But once I figured that out and told it, okay, you need to delete the dead packets and things like that, um, I just found out, oh, if I just sent this out as a stream rather than recreating the frame and doing what Asterisk always does, and sort of recreating the frame and recreating other stuff. If I just sent this off as a stream to PJSIP, PJSIP will just handle it like a phone call. It'll just handle it like a phone call and send RTP straight to whatever device that it needs to send to. So once we figured that bit out, it was just like, okay, now we just need to figure out where the hell is the stream number and how to get that through. And that was it. So um, it was more along the lines of moving away from the way Asterisk used to do RTT and trying to do it in a way PJ-SIP does its RTP. So once we figured that bit out, it was like, okay, so if this is how PJSIP is going to handle RTP, then we just keep the same principles and send things over, and and that was the best way to go about doing that.
Oh, that's really good, and that allowed you then within your company to come to a newer version of Asterisk and still get the functionality you needed in terms
Yeah,
of the real-time text.
yeah. So yeah, it helped us get that working, and we were able to implement it into our Mevo platform, MEVO.
Yes. Now, before we come and talk more about that platform and your company, without going into anything commercially sensitive, what is it you're actually using the real-time text for within the application?
So the best way I can put it is it is for the Mevo platform. It's for our MEVO Anywhere boxes, and our MEVO Anywhere boxes it runs on a core of Asterisk. So to send RTT. So when we send RTT, we want to make sure that also comes back out to the phones and things like that. So that's basically why we needed to build it into our phones and stuff.
Right, right. So, but before we get into the details of Mevo, can you kind of set the scene for us in terms of the whole emergency situation? And I know you're going to use the term PSAP, that'll crop up at some stage. So, if you could introduce us to that, I'm sure that would be very useful for our viewers.
All right. So the company I work for is in digital telecom. They started up around 2003 as a need for as a need because that was when a lot of government agencies were moving from brick and mortar phones, hardwires, and so rooms and rooms of physical connectors to more VoIP based solutions. So 911 was also moving in that direction. They wanted to move away from all the brick and mortar devices to more VoIP based services. And so in digital was formed to handle that need. So they kind of sort of pioneered the VoIP 911 solutions back in the day. Um, then around 2009, 2010, they came up with the i3 platform, which is basically a platform for uh sorry, I'm just trying to collect my thoughts here.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh the i3 platform was kind of sort of to help with next generation 911, where um, back back before, when a call came in, they would use the Annie to find they would try to use the Annie to find your location, so and send that over. But once next generation 911 became a thing, it was a lot more easier because they would use the alley location and the Annie locations to get your location and send that out. So that was one of the big things that NG911 provided. And with all of that, one of the biggest issues was what happens if the network fails, or what happens if a certain thing failed internally. So
Mhm.
our company was like, oh, if that happens, so the way if our routes keep failing, so the way the routes work is when we dial 911, it goes into the ECRF, and the ECRF will be like, okay, this guy is in Alabama, so call we need to make sure it's sent to an Alabama PSAP and not a PSAP in New York. So
Okay, all right. Let me just stop you there, please. A couple of acronyms: the ECRF and the PSAP. I wonder if you could just explain what those are, please, before we carry on.
um, I don't know what the ECRF stand for. I just it's such a tech term, and I probably should have done a bit of research before that.
No worries.
But the P stands for the Public Service Access Point.
Right. Public Service Access Point. Great stuff. And yeah, ECRF. I just did a quick Google while we're talking. Emergency Call Routing Function. So that makes sense
Yeah,
for our discussion there. Great. Thank you.
yeah. So the ECRF will read your phone number. It'll read some SDP messages internally in there, and like, okay, so this guy needs to go to this PSAP, and it sends it sends a call out to that PSAP. But what happens if that route has failed, or there was some kind of network congestion and the route, it just doesn't go through it? So then we would have backup routes and backup routes. So that's basically it. So the Mivo is one of the backup routes to make sure that there's always continuity, and if a certain PSAP or locate or 911 operated locations all go down, we can still get them back up and running really fast and not spend too many hours trying to fix fix an issue. So uh, so that was the need, and so the MEVO platform would work towards that. um, So with that, they also came up with this really cool thing, which is the MEVO Anywhere kit. And what that is it's basically the same concept, except now if there was a really huge disaster, like say for example something like Hurricane Katrina or something like that, and your PSAP call centers all go down, but people are still dialing 911. Yeah. Uh, so in order to help that out, we built these brick-like boxes. And you can actually see pictures of it online if you just Google MEVO Anywhere, and I'll send you a link to a video of how it works and stuff. Uh,
Thank
so so they have this brick-like software, and it has a built-in cell signal and everything else. And what it does is it will connect back to our servers using whatever cell service it can find. And once it connects back to our services, or if it can't find cell service, you can also hardwire it or anything else. But once it connects back to our services, it creates a secure VPN tunnel back to our servers. And once that happens, it adds itself to the ECRF or the routing function as another point of contact. And then as the ECRF goes through each and every route, and as all the routes fail, this route would
you.
become an available route, and calls could go out. So PSAP operators are now available to answer calls on this little box, and get themselves back up and start answering and helping out people. So yeah, it's a nice
Well,
little talk.
yeah, one of the things I picked up that you said there, Bharat, was if it's going to go onto mobile, it can work with any network on mobile, can it?
Yes, I believe so.
Very clever. I was just thinking of situations, for instance, like the forest fires in California, where you might lose through the burning up of the building the local PSAP, but you can imagine there was a lot of mobile activity in that situation as well, and being able to work with any network rather than being fixed to one that might be overused would be a very useful thing.
Yeah, that's one of the things that they pioneered on that, and it was great. So, and to in order to get the Mevo platform to support RTT, because people sometimes use RTT as a way to communicate with their 911 operators. The MEVO platform runs its core on Asterisk and FreePBX. So in order to get that working, that's where I came in, and I had to develop this into it, because they were previously using the old SIP library that Asterisk had, but since SIP wanted everybody, I'm sorry, not Asterisk wants to move to PJ SIP, we needed to get that functionality working, and that's what I was able to do.
Right, and when you say people use real-time text, is this they're actually physically sending messages down a SIP channel that they're creating at the time, or is it the sending of predefined messages like address locations and things like that that are sent over the RTT?
I believe people are just typing out messages real time,
Right.
over a sub channel. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Great. Right. Thank you for telling us about that. I mean, this is kind of a double whammy of goodness in that
Mhm.
you found an issue that you needed to solve and you've solved it and you've pushed it back up line. So that's a great thing. But also, just the nature of the business that you're involved in, E911 activities, is very, very worthwhile thing. And it's great to learn more about it. So thank you for taking the time to come and see us, Bharat, here at ClueCon Weekly.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it. ClueCon's always a fun
Uh,
conference to go to. I always go there for the hackathons, and I think I think back in 2016 I went to the hackathon and I won a prize. They gave me a nice Nintendo box. I still have it somewhere. It was awesome.
Well done. That was at ClueCon, did you say? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, that was at ClueCon. It was the coder. I think you guys call it the coder function, or
Yeah,
I can't.
Code Games or something like that. There were a
Yeah.
few different.
So that was, I think, back in 2017. I went in and I did the coding thing, and I won something, and they gave me a nice little Nintendo box to play with, and it was awesome.
Brilliant, brilliant. Are you thinking of coming to ClueCon this year, Bharat?
Yes, yes, I am. I don't know how the workload will be come August, but yeah, I'm planning to take a few days off to come over and see everyone.
Brilliant. It is, as you know, because you've been on a number of occasions already. It's a very, very worthwhile investment. And just
Yeah.
noticing at the moment that we still have a special offer on the tickets. Apparently, we've got $500 off at the moment. So if you're watching and you've not got your pass for ClueCon 2020 just yet, do nip over to cluecon.com and join us between August the 3rd and the 6th. That's 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, all happening in downtown Chicago. Bharat, just before we close, is there anything else that you would like to say while you're here on CCW?
No, nothing. I just want to say thank you very much, David. I really appreciate you guys having me here, and I hope to see you in person in ClueCon this year.
Great. Well, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to have you along, Bharat, and I will look forward to seeing you in person in
Yep.
Chicago. All the best.